You might not like this, but romance alone won't keep you married. Chasing butterflies and expecting your husband to emotionally complete you is why so many Christian marriages are failing. And I'm about to show you God's actual design for marriage. Hey, beautiful. My name is Jumoke Win, and if you've been expecting marriage to fulfill all your emotional needs, this video is going to reset your foundation. But before we continue, make sure that you do like, subscribe, and you hit that bell so that you can continue to get great notifications, great videos. Because by the end, you'll understand why covenant and purpose creates stronger marriages than romance and feelings ever could. And again, I'm still in the process of, designing our home, remodeling, whatnot. We just moved, so ignore this in the background. All right, so let's start with what God actually said about marriage. In Genesis 2:18, the word says, "It's not good for man to be alone." This is the Lord speaking. "I will make a helper suitable for him." And the Hebrew for that word is ezer kenegdo, right? It means strength, aid, help that is equal or comparable to. And God created Eve as a helpmate for Adam, right? Adam chose Eve, but God created Eve, right? And then in Genesis 1:28, it says, "Be fruitful and multiply." The Lord was speaking to Adam and Eve, humanity, right? "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it." The first commandment that God gave humanity was to procreate and have dominion. Notice what it did not mention: romance, emotional fulfillment. When we go all the way back to the first marriage, right, in the entire Bible, in all of human history, it's not about romance. It's not about emotional fulfillment. It's not about he completes me. Those are not the foundation of marriage. It's a secondary benefit. And for most of human history, to be very honest, marriage was simple: procreation and help, period. Okay? You had two people, they come together, get married, and they build something bigger than themselves. They have kids, they have help, they work on their little family business, they die, move on with their life, or pass it on to their kids, and that's it. Move on with their life, they're dead. And here's what happened. We start to think about marriage more recreationally instead of covenantly. Now people expect marriage to fulfill their emotional needs. This happened, I'm not fully sure, but it's not all of history. I want to say maybe the Renaissance era or something like that. But this idea of love marriages, and instead of marriage as utility, this idea of I'm looking for love is a modern concept. That's not a biblical concept. That's not a historical concept. That is just what marriage had slowly evolved to be. This idea of I want someone who makes me feel good, someone who makes me laugh, someone who completes me emotionally, someone I always feel happy around. That's putting expectations on marriage that were just never in the original design. And we have completely stripped away the primary purpose, which is help and multiplication. And we're going straight into romance and Songs of Solomon's, but that's backwards. Because, yes, sure, I'm not saying that you can't enjoy your marriage or there is no romance or you can't have romance in marriage. That's not what I'm talking about. It's just when we're so focused on that and we think that's the purpose of marriage, when that's not the primary purpose of marriage, we miss it. I know some people go straight into, but yeah, I want my marriage to reflect the love of Christ. And it's like, again, that is not the primary, like, again, when we go back to the first marriage, and I'm not saying that that's not what your marriage should do. It's not that it shouldn't sanctify you. It should sanctify you. It should prune you. But ultimately, right? Ultimately, we're not talking about, how do you say it? We're not talking about the primary function. There's things that happen after marriage, right? That is in addition to what this was. But if you're not a believer and you get married, we can't say that your marriage represents Christ's love. It's more so of how to go about marriage once you're already married, but that's not the foundation. Okay, so coming into marriage expecting emotional fulfillment as your foundation already puts you on a shaky ground, because feelings fluctuates but covenant endures. This is the reason why so many people, even Christians, they're divorcing. Why? Because they feel like it. Now that we have no fault divorce, especially coming in, what's that, the 1960s, maybe 1960s, now we have no fault divorce. Before, you needed a biblical reason to divorce. Now women file for divorce 80% of the time. You can just say, oh, I don't like you anymore. I fell out of love. I don't feel, good with you anymore. I don't feel romance. I can just leave, right? And when you expect your spouse to be your emotional everything, you're just creating pressure that the relationship cannot sustain, because it wasn't designed to carry that. Just marriage wasn't. So if you come into marriage with that, then that is, setting you up for separation in the future. But here's what creates lasting marriages is a shared vision and complementary purpose. It's not about doing the same exact thing. It's about partnership, right? So like, let's say, for example, we want our family to glorify God. We want to build generational wealth. We value service, integrity, family. You have similar values and a similar vision, and you guys are working together to achieve that. So you might, you're thinking about how your different strengths, it creates a complementary image. He might make money, you might manage the home, for example, but you're both working towards the same vision. Even if both of you are working, you both have a vision for your family and your home. And romance and emotional connection, they grow from that foundation. When you're partnered with someone in purpose, attraction and intimacy can develop and you can build that. I always tell people that great marriages are not found, they're built. But if you're going in with emotions and you're looking for something for someone who you have chemistry with, that you feel good with, and he's going to emotionally fulfill me, and you're expecting to not do any work because you're looking for ease, that sets you on a shaky ground versus having the expectation of, to get the type of marriage that I want, to grow with this person in communication and intimacy and all these other things, it's going to take effort, right? We're going to have to, move past some of our own trauma and hurts, and maybe we didn't come from the class background that we're aspiring to be. There's so many different things, but you should expect that your marriage will take some level of effort. But when romance is your foundation and purpose is optional, this is how marriage crumbles when feelings fade, which they usually do. Okay? So just to recap, all right, let's remember God's design for marriage. Primary purpose, help and procreation, right? Secondary benefit is romance and emotional connection. The foundation of marriage is commitment, right? It's covenant, commitment, shared vision. Marriage is not designed to complete you emotionally or heal your trauma. Okay, that's on you. That is your job, right? That is your job. You find joy in the Lord. It's not your husband's job to make you feel good all the time. It's not his job. That's not in the word. Romance follows purpose, not the other way around. All right. So built on covenant, not butterflies, and partnership creates deeper intimacy than passion really can. But my husband and I, we got women from single to wifey with faith and strategy. So make sure that you do click the link in the description box for more practical steps and proven strategies that lead to love and legacy. And my name is Jumoke Nguyen, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.